What is TPS? How does it protect some immigrants? And what did a federal court do this week that puts that in risk for thousands and thousands of immigrants and their families? Tune in today on Immigration Wednesdays to find out. Today we're going to talk about a decision that came out of the Ninth Circuit regarding temporary protected status. That stands for TPS. And that is a status that the president can grant to certain countries when they have disasters, hurricanes, earthquakes, civil wars, those kind of things, famines. And it's happened many, many times over the last 50 years. You've seen it most notably with El Salvador and Honduras and Haiti, Yemen, Sudan, Nicaragua. And many people have been here over 20 years under this granted status for temporary protected status. Most presidents have just kept renewing it. It's usually granted for 2 years at a time. They keep renewing it, and then people are allowed to stay here until conditions in their home country, improve, and then they're allowed to return. Well, President Trump took office and was one of the first presidents to ever end TPS for many people, and he made that announcement in 2017, 2018. Lawsuits were immediately filed saying his motivations were racially motivated, therefore that was not a just decision. Well, the Ninth Circuit finally came back after having enjoined the implementation of that ending of TPS, came back and said, we're going to end the injunction. Doesn't seem there's any evidence it was racially motivated. Therefore, that puts at risk TPS holders for El Salvador, Haiti, Nicaragua, but really for all those countries, because even though those are the ones initially mentioned, most countries are going to be in the same position of not, potentially Trump not wanting to renew them. So right now, USCIS has extended TPS through the first of next year, and for some countries a little further. But if Trump wins the election, it appears he is probably not going to want to extend those grants to those people. What does that mean? Well, you could have up to 400,000 people who are under TPS currently become undocumented citizens. Now, are they going to leave the United States? I find that highly unlikely for the grand majority of those people. Do they have other options to go on and maybe get other statuses through employers or through family members? Possibly, and they need to investigate those now and talk with an immigration attorney, especially if it's somebody who's married a U.S. citizen or has a U.S. citizen child who's 21 years old or is married a permanent resident. Those are pretty obvious options. People have great jobs and an employer willing to sponsor, that's another option. But that Ninth Circuit decision pretty much spells the end for TPS. Now, the attorneys have announced they're going to have the hearing considered en banc. That's just a fancy Latin legal word that means to have the entire Ninth Circuit court hear it. I don't know if that'll be granted or not. If they do allow that, then we might hear a potential reversal of that decision. We'll just have to wait and see. Of course, they could also try to appeal it to the Supreme Court. All these things take time. What doesn't take time, comparatively, is the elections coming here in just about a month and a half. And so, obviously, if we have a new president, if President Biden wins, if Joe Biden wins and becomes President Biden, then obviously when he takes office in January 21, he will have the authority and the opportunity to extend TPS if he is so willing to do so. President Trump, likewise, if he wins, will have the authority to end it, it appears. So we'll just have to wait and see. That's what makes America great, though, that we have elections. If you are a U.S. citizen, you can get out and vote and make your voice heard. If you think these kind of things are worth extending, then you're a one-issue voter. You might want to vote for President Biden. If you obviously do not like TPS and want to restrict immigration and maybe more restrictionist policies, you obviously have your selection in President Trump. So another decision that came out from a different court affecting TPS, and again, I'm sorry, it's all bad news for TPS today, is another court, basically an appeals court for immigration, held that people on TPS who get travel permits, you can apply for a travel permit called advanced parole if you're a TPS holder, which basically allows you to travel outside the U.S. and come back in, kind of a pre-approved re-entry. Well, for many years, in the past several years, immigrants have been able to do that, and that subsequent re-entry on that travel permit counts as an admission, a lawful inspection, which then makes them eligible for adjustment of status. Adjustment of status is just the ability to get permanent residency here in the United States through a child or a family member or even an employer. Well, this new court decision basically says that does not count as an inspection. It just returns you to the status you previously held. So if you were previously undocumented in the country when you got TPS, it's not returning to any kind of favorable status. It doesn't count as an admission for purpose of adjustment status. It basically just gets you back in the United States. Therefore, you will not be allowed to adjust status through those family members. So that's a pretty disappointing news. I personally have many clients who were able to get residency through those travels out on the advanced parole, coming back in, having it count as an inspection. Many of those people didn't have any other options. So that's pretty unfortunate. So bad news all around for TPS today. Again, the good news, let's leave it on a high note. We've got an election in a month and a half. So hopefully you're registered to vote. If you're a U.S. citizen, get out and make your voice heard. And hopefully maybe next Wednesday we'll have some better news for immigrants. And until then, we will maintain, if you're somebody on TPS and you're looking for other options, please give us a call. Call a good, reputable, preferably expert immigration attorney to know what your options are, because you may have options and you don't want to wait till the last minute, okay? Again, I'm Attorney Jeff Peak. This is Immigration Wednesdays. We'll see you next week.